Unmuted now.
Hello.
David, you here? Okay.
Hey, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Glad to have you with us, Commissioner Thomas.
Sorry about that. I kept trying.
That's okay. We
But it worked.
appreciate it. We're going to go live. Are you ready?
It's good to hear you, man. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the South Carolina Commission for the Disabilities and Special Needs, December 16th meeting. I'm Stephanie Rawlinson, and I'm calling this meeting to order. The notice of meeting statement will be read by Commissioner Robin Blackwood.
A meeting notice announcing the date, time, and place of the December 16th, 2021 Commission meeting was distributed December 14th, 2021 to appropriate media and other groups or individuals who have requested notification. The announcement and agenda were posted at the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs Central Administrative Office and on the website. The public has been notified that accommodations such as interpreters, mobility assistance, or other assistance will be provided to individuals with disabilities and special needs if requested in advance.
Thank you, Commissioner Blackwood. I just want to welcome you all this morning and thank you all for coming out the week before Christmas to do your public service here on this commission. I want to welcome our staff this morning and wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Thank you for sacrificing and being here for us today. I also want to welcome my daughter today. This is Mary Catherine. She is one of our consumers. And I'm glad to have her with me today so that she can see what we do here in Columbia to serve her. So this morning we have an agenda before you, and I asked for a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Malford. I'm sorry, my brain's not working today. Is there any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, the motion carries, and we will adopt the agenda as written. All right, the invocation. Commissioner Blackwood, would you like to do the invocation this morning?
I can. Dear Heavenly Father, guide our decisions so we can do your work in due season and that we never lose heart of our commitment to serve the clients of DDSN and the families of South Carolina. Guide us in this meeting and throughout 2022 so that decisions today will benefit all clients today and well into the future. God commands us to love each other and to be the light in the dark world that is filled with confusion and evil intentions. We ask for your grace and love to strengthen our communities and bless all the providers serving those in their care. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you. All right, the minutes for the November 18th meeting have been posted on the website, have been sent out to each of you. We also have a copy in your books. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as read or any amendments to the minutes?
So moved.
Move to approve? Second. Motion and a second by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Malford. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, the motion carries. The minutes are approved. Commissioners update. We'll start with Commissioner Miller. I believe you have some news for us.
Good morning to all. Tomorrow, which is the 17th of December, my wife is the mayor of Maysville, South Carolina, and the grandniece of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. Her statue has departed Florida and is on its way to Maysville, South Carolina. So it'll be open tomorrow. Congressman Clyburn will be here along with our good friend, Lou Gossett Jr. Many of you know him as the officer and a gentleman. He will be in Maysville, South Carolina, so we invite all to come out and see the statue of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, which will depart Maysville. For tomorrow is going to be the program will start at 2 p.m. sharp. So you can start viewing around 1:30. So anyone that wants to attend can attend and come on out to Maysville, South Carolina, home of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And in the words of the Temptations, Merry Christmas to all. To all, good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Malford?
Thank you. I do have an update. Madam Chairman, I would like to take a moment to speak to the individuals and families that we serve at DDSN. beginning January 1st, the antiquated and wasteful van payment method will come to an end finally, and DDSN will transition completely to fee-for-service. Some of it wanted to say for a long time. The South Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is preparing for this change, and direct billing will begin in the coming months. The change in this billing method has been debated for almost a decade in our state, even though every other state in the union has already implemented fee-for-service many years ago. But the shift is about much more than money. The transition means that all providers will be compensated for the services that they provide only, and that will create incentive. It is my firm belief that this increase efficiently, it is my firm belief that this will increase efficiency and accountability and will ultimately result in better services for the individuals we serve, better benefits and services for the individuals we serve. While our primary mission is to serve those in our state with disabilities and special needs, as commissioners, we have a duty to ensure that the taxpayers' dollars are spent wisely. The change to fee-for-service will allow us to fulfill that responsibility. The list of those involved in making this happen is far too long to name each of them here today. However, there are a few people that I feel the need to publicly thank. This is hard for me because it's so important. But anyway, the first is Governor Henry McMaster. I would like to express my gratitude to the governor for appointing me to this commission 2 years ago. Governor McMaster recognized the need for fundamental change at DDSN. Through his appointments to this commission, Governor McMaster put this change in motion. To my fellow commissioners, I am honored to serve on this commission with caring and compassionate South Carolinians who demonstrated the fortitude and courage to implement this reform that past commissioners were not prepared to carry out. As President Reagan said, there are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. We have to have the courage to do what we know is morally right, close quote. I believe that we have accomplished that through this. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Michelle Fry and the dedicated employees at DDSN. The work that you do every day changes people's lives. All of us should take great pride in that fact. I know that I and my fellow commissioners do that. We are grateful for your commitment to the agency and for those that we serve. Thank you. Madam Chairman, I would ask that what I just said be placed in the minutes verbatim according to section 30-4-90 of the Freedom of Information Act. Thank you.
Commissioner Malford, will you provide a copy of that to?
Absolutely, I have it already.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All right, Commissioner Blackwood.
Yes, I do have an update. I'll just kind of echo a little bit of what Gary has said and just say that it is a privilege to serve on this commission. And I always try to serve to the best of my ability and with the best of intentions. So thank you for everyone who supports me in this commitment, including my family. So in addition, I just wanted to mention that I visited the Charles Lee Center recently with Dr. Fry, and we really appreciate the hospitality and the information and the time that the executive director and their entire staff and a few of their board members gave to us that day so that we could learn more about the Charles Lee Center and hear more about a lot of the programming and services that they provide. So thank you for that. And also wanted to thank the Hope Foundation, who also hosted us with a tour of their Woodruff facility and sharing some of their challenges and ideas about how to better serve people in South Carolina who have autism. So I wanted to thank them for their hospitality as well. And that's my update.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Bell? Commissioner Thomas?
No update except to say to everybody, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Well, I have two updates. One, Mary Catherine and I had the opportunity last night to visit the governor's mansion for Christmas. It was a beautiful evening, and we appreciate the governor and his family including us in that. It was a great opportunity to talk with folks about DDSN and about the changes we're making. People are excited to see the things that are happening over here and look forward to seeing our agency move forward in the months ahead. It was a wonderful evening and lots of excitement about what's going on at DDSN. I also want to we're saddened to hear that our CFO is retiring, Pat Malley, in January, but we just want to thank him so much for his service to DDSN and for everything he's done for us and for his years of service. I hope that in January we'll have a little something special for you planned, and I'll get to celebrate his next chapter. So that's my update for today. Public input, we have none today, so we're going to skip over that. Let's move on to the Finance and Audit Committee. Commissioner Blackwood.
Okay, thank you. So we had a pretty light meeting a few days ago on Monday, I think was our Finance and Audit Committee meeting. And so the first item that I'm going to share is simply that there were no, we did not have to approve or review any thresholds reporting and spending for this month. So you'll see in your tab 3 that there is no contracts listed and reviewed because we didn't have any to review for this month. So that was the first item of business. And then the second item of business is we reviewed an outlier that was actually resubmitted to the agency, and the agency reviewed the information again on this particular outlier. And again, they decided to deny the outlier request. And so the committee approved that request to deny the outlier that was resubmitted to the agency.
Okay.
So I think because
Comes
it was
a motion and a second out of committee. All right, so comes as a motion and a second out of committee. We'll need to move forward. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye basically to deny this outlier.
Aye.
All opposed? None, the ayes carry, the motion carries, and the outlier is denied. All right. Policy committee, is that on?
Yes, that is it.
Okay. Policy committee.
Thank you, ma'am. I have several policies to work with here today, so just bear with me for just a moment. The first policy that we are working with here today is 535-10-DD. It is formally called the National Voter Registration Act, or motor voter policy that we have, and it establishes guidelines for DDSN case management and providers to function as it relates to voter registration. But it also is a very comprehensive policy that we have recreated to tell what DDSN employees can and cannot do regarding helping people with voting. They have to request voting, basically, and what DDSN employees can and cannot do, and what others can and cannot do regarding helping people voting and they can only get help if they request it and things of that nature. Basically, it is a wonderful indication of people who are disabled being treated like everybody else, because that's exactly what the voter law does regarding voting. it treats everybody the same, whether you're disabled or not. If you request assistance, you can get it, but only by certain people that's outlined in our policy. And it's a very comprehensive policy, and I felt like we did a wonderful job with it. It will be out for public comment for 10 days. And at that point, it'll come back to the commission in January for approval. I have requested that any changes to this policy that we request, that it's requested by anybody that I know about in advance, because I don't see much you could do with this policy. I think it was done very well, and obviously no comments can change laws. So it is basically what the law is regarding that policy. Now, there will be a change to that name, which I assume in her update that Ms. Lori Manus will tell us exactly what that name was. She gave it to me yesterday and I forgot what it was. But that really is information because we're putting it out for public comment. So I'll let you know that. The next item on the agenda is 41310-DD, which is a telecommuting policy and procedure, which we need for DDSN with all the how popular telecommuting is. And we need to figure out we need to have this policy to figure out who is appropriate, who's not appropriate for telecommuting for those people, supervisors. And it is again a well-written policy, I think, that was primarily taken from other state agencies. And we are presenting this policy to the commission for approval. So that would come as a motion and a second out of committee.
Okay.
And I'd like to take these individually if I can.
Okay, this first one, this is the telecommuting policy and procedures. Hang on a second, get my glasses so I can read the number for the record. 41310-DD is the policy number. I would ask we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries and that policy is approved.
Thank you. The next item is 41305-DD, which is a work hour and procedures policy. And it basically just gives the work hours for DDSN, but it was needed because it was needed to be revised primarily because of the telecommuting policies. So there's very little changes to it except for as it relates to telecommuting. So it's a telecommuting policy that we have, which again, some people are eligible for and some people aren't based on their supervisors. So that's where we are with that, and we are presenting that for approval as well.
The commissioners are also provided a copy of this in advance. This comes as a motion and a second out of committee. Please, are there any discussion on the matter? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries, and 41305-DD is approved.
Thank you. The next item on our policy committee agenda is 50. We can do these three together because I think, unless somebody has an objection, because we are asking them to be made obsolete. All three of these policies that I'm going to tell you about next.
Wait, this 60309-DD is motion to approve.
Right, and then he's moving on to 503.
I'm moving on to 50301D.
Okay.
What was that number again?
60309-DD is a motion to approve, it says.
We haven't gotten to that one yet, have we?
Yeah, you have to do all the rest of the three of them together.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're right. We cannot do that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She's right. We cannot do it together because they're off. You're right. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Okay.
Anyway, we're moving on to my fault completely. I'm sorry.
That's all right, sir.
50301DD is the next one. We are asking for that one to be made obsolete, but we'll do this individually because it's individuals involved with criminal justice system. There was a lot of discussion in our committee regarding this policy over the last month, and basically we have decided, or the staff has decided, that everything in that policy is in another policy. And so it's really not necessary to have it. The primary thing in that policy is that if we have somebody involved in the criminal justice system, then our clinical services department handles that through court orders that we are required to make. I mean, we're required to follow. So that is, anytime we get involved with the criminal justice system, it is because of a court order, which is the way it should be, I think.
Okay.
So so we're making that policy obsolete.
All right, the motion is to mark obsolete policy 50301DD. That comes as a motion and a second. Any discussion regarding making obsolete of this motion, of this policy? Hearing none, all in favor of marking this policy obsolete, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that policy is marked obsolete.
The next item on the agenda is, I told you we have a few, I'm sorry, 60309DD, which is management of individuals exposed to potential bloodborne pathogens. There was really no changes to this policy at all. It was just reviewed, which we try to do on a systematic basis, as we all know. There was no changes asked for this one. It'll be back in the rotation for the next 4 years, 3 to 4 years to be looked at again. But this is a big key to this, and the reason I wanted to bring it up primarily is to say that if there's any changes in that situation, we can certainly take this policy up at another time. We are a very fluid committee and willing to take up any policy that needs to be taken up, whether it's been taken up a month ago or a week ago or a year ago. So, but there's no changes to this one, so we're just asking it to be approved as it was.
Okay, the motion comes as a motion and a second out of committee. It is 60309DD. That is a motion to approve the bloodborne pathogen management of individuals exposed to potential bloodborne pathogen policy. Please, is there any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, that policy passes.
Okay. The last one that I'm going to mention here today that we're actually going to work with is 60202DD, which is our Aquatics program policy. And that policy we're asking to be made obsolete because it really only affects one facility that we have. And so that this policy is going to be rolled into some internal procedures at that particular facility. We don't have any other one that this pertains to, so we'll ask for this one to be obsolete.
Okay, motion and a second out of the committee. Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor of this motion being marked obsolete, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Policy number 60202DD is marked obsolete.
Okay, the only other thing I'm going to ask Ms. Lori Venus, are you here with us, Lori?
I am.
Okay. I'm going to ask, since she is here and ready for this matter, I'm going to ask her to give us the other updates from our committee and to ask her that if she remembers the name of the voter registration policy that we changed to. Go ahead.
Sure. So the other committee updates are on policy 60306DD, which is around tuberculosis screening. That policy was referred to staff again on June 8th for review. They had previously reviewed it on August 20th of 2020. There were no changes recommended or required to that directive. For the two directives, 304DD, which is maintenance of the physical plant, and 610DD, which is around individual clothing and personal property at the DDS and regional centers. These two directives were modified by staff. They went out for public comment. That public comment period will expire on December 31st. So those two directives should be ready to present to the commission for approval and signing at the January 2022 commission meeting. And then the name change on the motor voter policy or directive 53510DD. As part of the revision, we recommended the title change read voter registration and voting rights.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Lori.
The only other thing I want to say is that regarding the policy committee is that we have, our next meeting is, Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's January 11th. The next meeting,
That sounds correct.
I believe that the next meeting is January 11th at 3 o'clock. And, we'd love to see whoever's interested. in
Yeah,
our-
it is. I'm sorry, I couldn't get my computer to unmute. It is January 11th.
Okay. Anybody that's interested, please join us by computer on January 11th. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask, how many policies have you all reviewed this year at this point? Do you know?
I don't know. I should have an answer to that question because.
I got an answer to that. I have an answer to that question of 1,422,000.
We hear you, we hear your pain.
It is. We are on the schedule
He's
to
a
do.
slave. I'm telling you, he's a slave driver.
Well, I am just very impressed with the numbers that your committee turns out. I can always count on that being done and being done very thoroughly. And I just want to thank the members of that committee for keeping that policy, keeping those policies up to date, and for the work you do for this commission. Good work.
Thank you very much. I will have an update for you in January as to how many we have done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to old business. The IDRD waiver renewal update. Lori, I think you're with us on the computer, correct?
I am. So we are continuing to work on the IDRD waiver renewal alongside the Department of Health and Human Services. I think I informed you guys at the last commission meeting that HHS had received an informal request for additional information. We did provide answers to the questions that they gave to DDSN. HHS resubmitted the whole informal request for additional information as well as an updated waiver document at the beginning of December. They are continuing to meet with CMS on a weekly basis to try to push through the waiver renewal. So at this point, we're still hoping for a January 1st effective date.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Menace? Hearing none. All right, we'll move to a fee for service. Mr. Pat.
Good morning,
Morning.
and Chairman, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. It's an honor to serve.
Well, I want you to know how much we appreciate that you have always stepped up and just done any and everything we needed. And your hard work does not go unrecognized here.
Could you tell me one thing before we get to the next thing, sir? Can you tell me how many years it has been that you served our agency?
I'm pushing 5 in February.
5 in February. So you'll almost make it to 5. All right. I just wanted to say, all right, thank you.
Can we backfill for the time that you were working with us on the investigation before
Yeah.
that?
I get bad times.
That was a couple of years as well.
If you look in your binder, tab 11, you'll see a document that itemizes the details of how we're rolling out fee-for-service to the provider network. This document does not include anything about establishing the rates, but I will thank South Carolina HHS rate setter for participating in meetings with the provider network at the human service providers, as well as the finance committee meeting where we had all the financial directors. And he probably made a presentation of a half hour at each meeting of how he set the rates and answered questions. And we thank him for that to really get into the detail of how the rates were set. Probably the new information since the last time we met on the rates would be they have confirmed that the case management rate will be increased by 7.32%. I see that the community rate will be increased, but I don't have a specific amount yet. And the last issue remaining that will have a fiscal impact will be the leave day policy that HHS is working on now. And I think that will be ready shortly. I think it's close. But just to give you a little foreshadowing, what the rate setter sent out to the provider network, he said that implementation of such a policy should add additional reimbursements to the provider. So hopefully more positive things will happen to the rate when they finish the leave policy. If you look at the handout, I don't want to read it to you or bore you. You might know most of this, but basically this is 28 items that we went over with the provider network, starting obviously from the biggest issues down to the smallest issues, and that's the general priority order. And I'll just walk through several of them, and please ask questions if you have them. Some of this is going to be just refining how we communicated previously, because right now we're at the ground level of kicking off, so we want to be as specific as we can. Item number A is the cash flow impact, which we previously described. We're going to maintain the bans until the go live date, and 2 weeks before the go live date, we will stop the prospective payments, and then we will start direct billing in the intermediate since January 1st to whenever the go live date starts, which is scheduled tentatively for March. At the end of each month, we will calculate what the provider's fee-for-service rate revenue would have been, and if it's higher, we will pay them the difference, and if it's lower, we will not recoup anything until we get going. B, direct billing. I think direct billing training starts next week, I believe. Did training come out?
Yes, I think that they had a training yesterday.
Lori knows you can jump in, but I think
Yeah, so there's a provider enrollment webinar today and then another one on the 22nd. So those are kind of the first two rollout trainings. And we'll be present at both of those.
And the second thing we want to keep you in the loop on is Director Fry. We met with Therap, and we really impressed upon them the need to have their billing component done as quick as possible. We're shooting for March 1st. We cannot guarantee it's going to be ready on the actual kickoff date, but if that gets developed as we believe it will get developed, what that will do, it will take an administrative burden off the providers of this manual approach of loading billing data into the HHS portal, which is fine, but I think we will be able to leverage Therap's current automation of many of these billings into a product that will more automatically populate a provider's billing capabilities, and then they can push it to HHS. So we're pushing hard on both fronts.
Is there any leverage within our contract with Therap if they don't have that ready? I mean, that direct billing module has sort of been floating around out there almost since the inception of Therap.
It was the last to take place, and it had to go after authorizations. And basically, they were in the process of building it, but now that we're not going to build it off of our capitated model, right? That stopped. So all work there stopped. But fortunately, their business in every other market they have is fee for service. So they have a fee for service module that they have to tailor to us. And I think the best leverage we have is if you're in the room when Dr. Fry explained it to him, I think that was leverage in the most diplomatic way to be available and ready for March 1st. This is their contract year. We have a 1-year contract. I think this is the time for they have to really, really make us proud and come through, because if it works as it will, and it will work, sooner the better, it will come at the right time, and it will leave, it will help us immensely through this process.
I do think that as we circle back at the end of that year, and I know you're not going to be here at that point in time, Pat, so that, we need to remember when it comes time when we're looking at our Therap or related contract, their performance here needs to be,
I think it's key.
addressed.
I was just going to say there's, after this, part of Thera is addressed. There's another part of Thera that needs to be addressed, and that is relating to the history of those with disabilities and that Commissioner Rollison had brought up several months ago.
Yeah.
We would appreciate something done about that too, if it's possible, before we consider.
Their back history. I think there was nothing on there to where people could go back and see how someone ended up in our system, and if they were injured, how their injury took place, who their family members are that, you reach out to. There was just no back history on anyone in there. And that was something that we really want to stress with them, that's got to be in that contract.
So have we updated the policy on that? Are we looking into it? What are we doing about it?
So what we're doing is, actually, we're going to share on Monday a survey that's going to go to our network as part of our RFP process. As you all know, we're doing a 1-year sole source contract with TheraP for this gap year or emergencies because we didn't RFP it before. So just to be consistent with best practice on RFPs, we are going to provide a survey that's thorough but succinct to solicit input from our providers about how they would like for an electronic health record tool to work. So everything from UI and UE, user interface and user experience dynamics to information that they would like for it to have. And then we can utilize that information that we get from across our network and build that into the RFP requirements for the next, for those who respond to the RFP. We can also utilize that to have conversations with TheraP about what they can do during this 1-year sole source year.
So before that goes out, will it hit the policy committee for input?
What we were doing is providing a survey to solicit input from those who are using the tool. And then we will have the opportunity to go through those data that we receive from that tool. And we can bring it and say, bring it to policy committee and the commission and share based on the data we receive from X number of respondents. We recommend that we are modifying this RFP to include the following requirements.
Yeah.
I just think that before it goes out in an RFP form, that policy gets a chance to add its input to it so that whatever is put out there, because that's the bread and butter now as it relates to fee for service. If the policy is wrong, the outcome is going to be wrong.
That is precisely why we're going to take this very purposeful approach to how we draft the requirements section of the RFP to ensure that the tool meets the needs of those who are interfacing with it the most and those whom we serve. And so we'll bring those data to you all.
That'll be great. You know, I think where I came into it is I went into one of the centers and I said, okay, tell me about this person. Where did they come from, or are they from here? You know, and they couldn't tell me that information, and there was nowhere to get that information. And that was, I think that's why I came. This was even before you were here. I think that was my thing to the commission is we have TheraP, but there's nothing there. You know, there's no background. So that was my concern.
My experience working with vendors is the vendor will perform against the requirements you give to them. So we just need to make sure that we tell the vendor what we need it to do, from the user experience, the information that's available, the utility of it, things they can do with it, and we're going to be really purposeful about it.
That's great. That's great. Go ahead,
That's
Pat.
where the deep dive.
All right. Go ahead, Pat.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you.
If you look at C at the bottom, I think that's an important bullet. And what that, it helps the providers understand how we're crosswalking our current 15 rates and services to the 8 in the IDRD waiver. And most of them are directly across. We're obviously combining some. And I think the one that gives us the most work we have left to do is in Tier 3, because Tier 3 for the 4-person group home, CTH2 or CRCF, a lot of former rates went in there from a variety of needs to include outliers. So that range is a lot wider. So Lori and her team and Rufus, we're going through each and every one of those individually to make sure that we have them and that can we bump them to Tier 4. And at the same time, once we go through that, we will give providers our tentative list for them to look at, and we'll give them an opportunity to engage us to look at ones that how we place them, whether we can juggle them a little bit more and it's predicated. So we still have some work to I would say vet that with the providers so that they feel like they have a good bite at the apple. But we'll certainly do that before the go live date. I'll look at D, the 60-day vacancy rate. Historically, in the van system, when somebody, when a bed turned over and the person left the bed and the provider had to go find a replacement, we paid them 30-day vacancy rate. It's basically empty bed rate. And during COVID, due to the public health emergency where everything was just slower to get done, we moved it to 60 days. When we go to the go live date, we're going to eliminate that policy for several reasons. And the most notable one is we want to incentivize filling beds as quickly as possible and not add a delay to it. Plus, at the same time, we're trying to get truly to fee for service and get rid of the DDSN add-on type wraparound extra costs.
Amen, brother.
F is this, we have work to do with the providers because if they enter into the portal, we want to be able to get them all together and with them figure out the best tools that we currently have that they can use to collect their statistics to then enter them in the portal in the most easiest way. And I think there's a number of ways to do that. We might be able to modify, we may be able to create some more reports for them, but we want to help them enter when they're going into the portal. And hopefully we get back into their app, then all of a sudden we just have one system that everybody operates in a more standardized method. So there's some work to do there. We're going to issue an RFP for financial technical assistance. The scope of work is in procurement, and they hope it's the next one in the queue that they're going to push out to MMO. And in short, we're advertising for subject matter experts in our industry, primarily auditors, consultants, and people who've been in the industry for at least 5 years, and they can demonstrate their expertise in financial analysis of our provider network, as well as have adequate knowledge of the operations of our provider network, because how you do operations affects you financially, particularly staffing. And we're going to get a qualified providers list together with individual rates, and we're really going to require the person with expertise be the on-site person to do the review, so that providers that have financial problems, we can get people who are already skilled, already have credibility in the system, and dispatch them to these providers to help them, as well as their boards, understand their financial issues and recommendations to both adjust operations and finances to make them healthy. And some of the criteria to get those services we have to work out, but certainly if you're in need, we're probably going to solicit input, and we may even have people to be hopefully if they need our help, we may make it contingent upon them using this financial service to help them be healthier. Service contracts, obviously working on a future service contract. We're trying to have one simple contract. We have to adjust policies, and then if you look at K through BB, they are basically every payment system that we have, every payment stream that we have, not counting bands or bundle rates, is itemized. Most of it's state funded. And we just listed that for the provider network so they can see exactly what will change and what won't change. Most of it won't change. And those that do, we can explain how we're going to pay them a little bit differently. So we're trying to reduce all the any ambiguity in the system as to how things are going to work when we go live. And so that's where we're at on that side. Any questions?
I just wanted to reiterate to thank everybody for their work in this regard. I have earlier, but I wanted to do it again.
Are the providers adjusting well to all of this? How is that going?
Oh, it's an adjustment. It's a big adjustment.
Sure.
I think once the fiscal impact settles, that will help. Obviously, whenever you change a fiscal system, it impacts people a little bit differently. And even though there's much more money in the system, some people benefit greater to others depending on the efficiency of delivering billable units. So I think it will help the whole bell curve rise a little bit, but certainly the mechanics of billing yourself versus us taking care of that is a little, makes them nervous. I think we'll work them through it. But I think at the end of the day, I'll echo what Commissioner Malfer says, is that this, you don't know yet. It is, we're creating a system to incentivize service and efficiency and billable units. And we can already hear anecdotally providers looking at their operations on how they're going to implement day programs, how they're going to, because they see it's in their best interest. And sometimes the ban system may have had a dulling effect on that. And I think it's having a sharpening effect on it. So I think that's the long range benefit of that. But believe me, there's nervousness out there, but we just gotta go at a rate so that nobody stumbles and that the revenue stay equal or greater. And it's tentatively set for March, but I think there's a lot of common sense, and I don't think anybody's going to pull the trigger if people aren't ready to be successful.
All right. Internal audit, Ms. Courtney Crowder.
I'll start with an update on agreed upon procedures reports. So October 31st was the deadline for 2021 reports for the DSM boards. We've received 39 reports and 1 board is on extension. Of the 9 providers with June 30 year ends, that results in that October 31st reporting deadline. We've received 8 agreed upon procedures reports and 1 is on extension. So the review of these 2021 agreed upon procedures reports is underway, and we've completed that review for 3 of the DSM boards, and our 2021 contract reductions are currently at $600. We're continuing to work on the projects that we've briefed you on previously. Our exit conference for the environmental modifications compliance audit was yesterday. So we anticipate that that report will be issued in the next few days, and that will be distributed to you all via email. So I also have a brief update for you on the audit observation tracking report. So that report has been populated with findings and corrective action plans for audits for which follow-up procedures had not been performed from 2018 to present. So we have a little bit more work to do before that's ready to send out to you all, but I anticipate being ready to distribute that before we break for the holidays. So may I answer any questions for you?
How you've been with us a little bit now? How are you feeling about internal audits, capacities, and staffed up? Give us an update about how you're feeling about things at this point in time.
So, we do hope to post a position soon for an IT audit manager. Feel that that's an area where we need some additional skills and expertise. So the plan is to have that ready to post in January.
Is there anything that you need from us as a commission?
Not at this point, but I appreciate you asking.
Let me just say that and you may not be able to answer this now, and you can answer it next month or the next, but and I should have mentioned, maybe I should. I was just wondering, what is the number one financial report change that you see, or one or two financial report changes that you see coming because of fee-for-service, or is there any real changes in that regard? Or would you rather answer that later?
I'd rather, I have a little time to think on that and answer that later.
Okay.
I think we're still kind of all, anticipating the changes, and, we've had lots of meetings as a team to discuss that, and, I'm happy to reach out to you and discuss that in detail.
Courtney's been involved in some of the discussions in terms of service and changes, trying to make sure she's got the bolts of what's happening, and she's aware of that from her too, in terms of what goes into some of the changes happening. Service switch, so she's.
And if you see Santa, tell him I'm looking for him.
All right.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
All right. Next, Tommy Windsor, legislative update.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Thank you. Good morning, Anita.
Considering that the legislature is not back in session yet, we don't have a whole lot to update, but they do come back in on January the 11th. We've had continued meetings with legislators regarding DDSN. As a matter of fact, Dr. Fry and I have a meeting with Representative Smith, who's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, next month. So we've got, can't get in, I don't want to get into too much because we have a legislative committee meeting 30 minutes upon adjournment of this meeting. So if I get into too much, then there won't really be a need for Ed and those to listen to everything again.
So moved.
But again, to date, there has been no pre-filed legislation on either the House or the Senate that specifically addresses DDSN or its operation. A lot of the stuff that we would want to be monitoring on the new legislation is COVID-related legislation. So, and we're just going to keep our eye on that. But the bills that were there last year, as I reported at the last meeting, they're still there. The bills that we talked about with the qualification for commissioners to eliminate the commission and make it a cabinet, those are all still sitting in committee. So once they get back, you'll start seeing a lot more activity. So enjoy the brevity of this last legislative report. And beginning the 14th of January, all of y'all will receive your weekly legislative update, which will contain all of what's happened in the previous week, where y'all can go and see the bills. Any media coverage will be attached to that. So any questions you have regarding that, I'll be glad to answer too. And that's really about all that's going on legislatively right now. Any questions?
I'll ask one quick one if you don't mind. Was there any effect to the congressional districts whenever they worked on redistricting?
As far as the legislate, I mean, as far as the commission is involved?
Yes.
No.
I didn't
Make
think so.
sure we
I
all
assumed-
still live in the same district that we serve.
Yeah, I assume you would have voted for somebody on that subject. If they-
Yes, I will let you know if you didn't live in your district anymore. But that doesn't go into, until effect, I don't know, the governor hasn't signed that yet, I don't think.
I'm sure he hasn't signed it yet. I was just wondering if there was any changes for us and for any major changes in any of the Senate or House districts that you wanted to mention, but there was none.
Well, if he hadn't signed it, we could probably get him to veto it to make sure we got them to redraw you back into the first. So that's why I mentioned that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That'd be very helpful.
We'll have to let the Senate and House leadership know that we have to have our commission remain intact.
So I live next door to Barry now.
That's right.
Okay,
You
good.
could. You could be really rough on your end.
Thank you, Tommy. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Rob McBurney, on the COVID update.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Just want to start with a report that overall in the state, I think if you watch DHEC's numbers, over the past 2 weeks, there's been a slight upward rise in COVID cases around the state. That is probably an effect of Thanksgiving. As we see big holidays where everybody gathers, we get upticks after that. But we also are watching Omicron, and we know that we had our first case of Omicron in South Carolina yesterday. And as these variants begin to spread, we learn more about it from after the Delta experience. We expect that we will see more cases after the Christmas holidays in January. Last year, there was a spike in January of cases, and we certainly expect that to be the case here. Hopefully the vaccine is going to, we were a year into the vaccine now, and hopefully that will help mitigate the spread. It definitely does, numbers wise, mitigate the spread, but as the vaccine becomes more available, and we get boosters going, hopefully we will see an effect as far as keeping the variants under control. Specifically in our community providers statewide, over the past 2 weeks, we've had 13 cases, which is about what we had been doing overall. That wasn't a particular rise in cases. The regional centers currently have 9 cases. That's from the past 2 weeks as well. All of them are in one dorm at Midland Center. I started with a staff member tested positive, then 9 residents tested positive. Those are isolated right now. Testing is underway. It has not spread beyond those 9 as we speak, and the clock is running. Those are fairly mild cases. They're under isolation. And like I said, I think, knock on wood, there won't be any more spread, but the testing so far has indicated that we've isolated those cases.
Rob, if you don't mind me asking, of those 12, how many of those folks were vaccinated? Do we know?
There were,
Or was it 13? 13, I'm
of the
sorry.
13, I believe 7 of them were vaccinated. If I'm looking at the numbers. So, like I said, this variant tends to, it looks like, get beyond.
But this isn't an Omicron. These aren't Omicron.
Those aren't our Omicron cases, but what we're seeing is we see people getting, even if you've got the vaccine, you can get COVID, but it's a much milder case. And that's what we're seeing. If you are not vaccinated, it's a more serious case. That has borne out through Delta throughout the entire year.
And this came from one staff that got infected first.
Oh, no, you're talking about the 13 that
The Midland.
in Midlands? Yes, I believe it was 2 staff tested positive. We don't know which, I think it was 2 staff that tested positive in that building. And then 9 residents. Like I said, the 9, everybody was vaccinated of those. So you can get it, but like I said, it's a milder case.
And did we have any hospitalized?
No, they're all at Midlands and doing well at this point. We're underway right now with boosters at, we also have 3 staff cases at Whitney. That's it for the past 2 weeks.
Were they vaccinated?
I do not believe they were vaccinated. So so that's what we have as far as the past 2 weeks. COVID boosters are now underway at the centers. We're about 40 to 50% over the whole centers as far as getting boosters to consumers. As we get vaccine in and as we get consents in, we're in that process of working through it. The clinics are happening almost on a daily basis at the centers, and they are vaccinating as we go. Are
we testing our own, or are we sending our test?
We are testing in accordance with DHEC. We are testing. Each center has their own testing set up with DHEC. Some have private labs, some have DHEC labs, but they do regular testing.
I would like for us to track how, as the month goes on, I'd like for us to keep a track on the number that were vaccinated and still got COVID. I think that's an important number for us to kind of be able to see where we are and how many have been boosted and still got the vaccine and still got COVID. I just think those are important numbers for us to kind of to keep up with, if y'all don't mind.
I agree with that.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
And to add to that, check to see whether or not they were in that covered period or whether they were outside of that covered period when you bring that information to us.
Will do.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. The only other thing we got, flu vaccine is going on as well. We're 90% vaccinated for the flu with individuals at the regional centers, and we're about 15% with staff, but that number is low because the staff doesn't necessarily come to the regional centers for vaccines for flu. They get them, you get them at Walmart and Target. Everybody's does flu vaccines, so that's harder to track. But that's something that we're also concerned with going forward into January as we head into flu season. And pending any questions, that's my report.
Any other information y'all want to make sure we get regarding COVID?
This is always dangerous, but I wanted Ed to clarify something.
The strength of the vaccine is supposed to last us in a certain window. The question is whether or not if the number is 7, how many of those? Correct.
Oh, I got you now. All right.
Just trying to see how long the vaccine's lasting.
I got it. You're often above me, Ed. I'm just trying to get to you, man.
I'm from Beaufort. What can I say?
Thank you, Rob. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move along. New business, the financial update. Pat.
I think you'll find that on tab 12. This is our monthly report of just about actual spending compared to our spending plan. And if you track along with how we do it, we are about 16th of a percent under budget. But I will follow up with the question you asked Courtney. What our most significant impact is going to be is we will, HHS, because they're paying direct, are going to take our match. When they take our match, they're going to end up paying all our providers directly. So when you look at this budget next year, there could be as much as $600 million of revenue not there and 2/3 of our match not there. But I caution everybody, that sounds catastrophic. It is not. The change will be felt in finance at some levels. We're already trading some people out, and no one's going to lose a job. But more than anything else, it'll free us up to what we should be doing, as opposed to all the craziness we've been doing with the band calculations that prevent us from being good financial management reporters. But we got to remember, this agency is still going to provide oversight to $850 million. So it's just they're paying the bills on this, and so I think that the change is on an operational level, I think non-existent. On a financial, they're just paying that, and it will have some effect downstairs, but not dramatic. I think it will have an effect on. We will have to come up with a new budget appropriation with the General Assembly, because all of our traditional 11 categories, 8 of them are going to be gone. So we're going to have to, and I think that's a good thing, because it gives us an opportunity to reset our appropriations for 2023 and align our appropriations with how we execute, so that it will also save a lot of time downstairs. So as we execute in a better alignment, we'll have better reporting on how we're doing throughout the year, as opposed to extra logistics and converting our budget to how we spend it. So I think that's all good news, but it's a lot of work for the budget section to come up with those, as well as we have to come up with all new account numbers to avoid any kind of future confusion, but all doable.
That is, yes, that's a very good point you just made, that our financial accountability for this agency remains the same for the commission and for the agency. That's a very good point that I was hoping somebody would make today, but thank you.
But adding to what you just said, and I can't overemphasize this, greatest exposure to South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs is we have to get thorough correct. That's the whole. If we don't fix that, we're going to have a major problem. Okay, we have to fix that. That's why I said that policy has to be deeply involved in this. Because if there is a hole, that's it.
I need a motion to approve the financial update.
Second.
All in favor, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries, and the financial update is approved.
Thank you.
Gary is the second on that, I think.
Yes. All right, supporting residential options, Dr. Fry.
Right, in tab 13 of your binder, there's a memorandum that provides some detail. We are bringing to the commission a proposal to change. It's not a formal policy, but it's been a long-standing practice in which the providers had a certain number of slots. And so what we are proposing is that individuals approved for residential services and who are on our critical needs list are assigned funding in collaboration, in concert with their case manager, so that they can solicit and or select an agency in our network to provide residential rehabilitation. We're recommending that this become effective on January 1st. And all agencies in our network can appeal to individuals on our critical needs list to offer residential services. The shift in practice provides agencies in our network the opportunity to serve those in need, and most importantly, avail more options to those who we serve. So
Yeah, I think it's important to look at, and the purpose of this, Michelle, clarify for them, is to try to reduce this. Correct?
Yeah,
Waiting list.
Yes.
You know, we've got people that are sitting there in empty beds, and the purpose is to get them in beds if they need them, or get them in rooms if they need them. Am I correct?
Yeah, so currently, if the provider doesn't have an additional slot, if you will, that's pre-approved, but could, if approved, take and provide services to an individual, that's not allowable. So what we're trying to do is shorten the time that individuals are on our critical needs list, and again, give them more choice rather than being limited to the providers who have these pre-designated slots.
I would be honored to make a motion for that, because it actually either eliminates or decreases dramatically the amount of what many people in our, either privately or publicly in our system used to call cherry picking.
Yes.
And it helps greatly to eliminate that. And I've heard about that for years and knew about the difficulties of it, and never really understood our long-standing policy, as it's called here. I mean, a long-standing practice, which was not a policy for the record, but a long-standing practice that we are ending, which we are very thankful for Ms. Fry for. So I make a motion that we end that, that we allow this to occur.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second. Let's discuss it. Is there any discussion?
I was just curious, maybe what the unintended consequences might be of this. Are there any that you can think of that, I don't know, that that I know sometimes providers won't fill a bed because they don't have the staff to do it. And they decline, placing that resident. I'm just curious is there anything that we might need to address if we approve this that, again, might be an unintended consequence, like, I don't know. Just curious if there's anything that has been brought up in y'all's discussions on this internally as y'all look at making the move. It's pretty straightforward. It's in my mind, so a situation like what you're describing, they're not receiving monies and they still won't. The main thing is that this will allow the consistent with our mission and what we're supposed to do is to allow folks to identify with their case manager and an appropriate placement, right,
and fund that. So it limits a guarantee up to so many, but I don't see unintended consequences. I think the consequences are intended.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
If anything, we had unintended consequences before, not that.
Okay.
Is what I would say to that. And it increases competition, which is sort of competition of sorts, because you can allow somebody to move from one place to another. And the biggest thing is it gives them choice for where they can live, which is a wonderful thing.
Anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion carries, and this practice will go back January the 1st. Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Dr. Fry for the director's update.
Yes, so this week, consistent with what Mr. McBurney was discussing, we're going to distribute a memorandum internally to our workforce, reinforcing the need to exercise standard and transmission-based precautions to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. As positivity and rates are increasing, it's vitally important that all of our personnel remain well-informed on and committed to continuing practices to prevent and control the spread of the virus. Also, I wanted to highlight that earlier this month, Ms. Kayla Capps, the Deputy Director of the South Carolina Department of Child Advocacy, as well as Dr. Kenneth Rogers, the State Director of DMH, and I, along with key personnel from the agencies, visited multiple regional centers to evaluate the condition of vacated, unused dorm space as potential sites for to support youth in crisis. The youth may or may not be eligible for DDSN services. Any formal proposal that would materialize from these visits, we will vet internally and, of course, bring to this commission for input and approval. We just are excited because state agency collaborations maximize taxpayer value, legislative appropriations, and promote opportunity for reciprocal learning and sharing of resources. So I want to thank all of them for the collaboration with that. I also want to thank Dr. Skinner at the Greenwood Genetics Center and his remarkable team for hosting a meeting with myself and Pat Malley and Tommy Windsor. We were able to tour and learn more about the agency, and just the array of services delivered is impressive. During and post our visit, their commitment to serving as a center of excellence in genetics is evident, and we look forward to continuing to partner to achieve that goal. Also, earlier this month, I had a chance to meet with Miss Kimberly Tiso from Able, South Carolina, and Miss Valerie Bishop from South Carolina Developmental Disabilities Council. And they were able to share with myself and members of the leadership team additional information about resources available to our network and individuals we serve. They are both staunch advocates, and I'm optimistic that our agencies can collaborate to establish more learning events directly for the individuals we serve and their families. I appreciate both of them for their time for that meeting and their willingness to partner now and in the future. I want to quickly highlight that on Monday will be our first monthly forum. We're instituting a monthly forum for the provider network for all agencies, and that will be the fourth Monday of the month. So essentially, the Monday following our commission meeting, we'll have a monthly meeting with all providers, and we're going to have an established FAQ email so that we can solicit input about topics that they want guidance on. And the goal is just to ensure our agencies communicating regularly and consistency with all of the providers.
What time will that meeting be? Do we know?
I'm looking at Christy. 1:30.
Okay, and can we tune in and just listen? Is that a problem?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll make sure that we provide that to you all.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that would be a good thing.
And I want to just note, we are going to ask, I know Chairman Rawlinson is aware, for a special called commission meeting. I'm sorry, I know it's the holiday season. The sole purpose of that meeting would be to evaluate options for using the accumulated 6.2% FMAP dollars. As you all know, we're in a labor crisis, and there are a number of other challenges that our providers are navigating. We would have had that for this meeting. However, we just received last night the information from HHS that talked about which pieces of our proposal to them about the 10% FMAP. So remember the categories that you all approved. When they submitted to CMS, that wasn't a one-to-one. They didn't take that and just hand it over. There were pieces that were not included. So since we were awaiting that information about the crosswalk, we weren't able to get the memo. So we'll have a memorandum and a proposal to the commission no later than tomorrow, hopefully today, because we just got the information after hours last night to talk about this. But I would be remiss to have this meeting and then suddenly send you information and say, can we please have a special meeting? So that's the rationale.
Are you looking before Christmas or after Christmas special meeting?
Whenever
would be your will.
It'll be at the pleasure of the commission. If we do it, we will be able to do it via teleconference. So we're kind of waiting to see when they get everything together. And once they get everything together, I'll kind of survey you all and see where you are, if you've left town, if you have access to the internet, that kind of thing, before we set a date and time, if that's good with you all. Is that okay with the rest of the commission?
I'll be in the North Pole.
You will. In your sled, in your sleigh headed out. All right.
And other than that, I, as I've been traveling around and meeting different agency leaders and those in our network, stakeholders, and those whom we serve and their families, I'm really grateful for the warm reception and their reception to working collaboratively and accelerate some of the positive changes to improve our service delivery. And while I know change takes time, however, agency has and will continue to execute mission critical initiatives. In the new year, greater emphasis will be placed on establishing measurable material indicators of quality and outcomes across service lines. That's part of the new dynamics that Mr. Malley was talking about as in the new waiver, and with them taking our match, we'll really be able to focus on quality, and there will be new expectations for establishing value-added training resources in varying formats on best practices to include agencies and organizations with subject matter expertise in our network. This is a priority now and in the coming new year. South Carolina, HHS, and many other state agencies have been overwhelmingly supportive and actively working with our agency to resolve crises and build capacity in the future to resolve service gaps. Our team and I look forward to continued collegiality and working with existing and new stakeholders. So with that, just wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season.
Well, I would like, we had some great press this last week about our marketplace. Would you like to update about that, or would you rather Tommy do it?
Do you have an update on that? So I need a total number. How many folks?
We had 15 providers there.
It was 15 providers here last Friday. It was wonderful. We had
What was it called again? It was called the
Holiday Market, and it was started at 9 in the morning, and folks were here all day. We had a number of individuals who have employment programs, and they were able to showcase the work that they do, sell items. Those who didn't have actual items to sell still had an opportunity to showcase work that they do as part of their employment program. So it was a really positive experience for those whom we serve. And as you mentioned, we were able to get some press, and we have a number of pictures from that we can share with the.
That's wonderful. I think those are great programs, and I like to see us doing that type of thing. I think that's important that we showcase our consumers and their valuable gifts to the community.
All right. Tommy had a very interesting thing to say about that to the media. Tommy, if you want to repeat it, you remember it, but it was about how we do so much more. People with disabilities can do so much more than people realize. And I thought it was very interesting where you put that into that particular outlet that was here.
Yes.
And y'all get a commission of the newsletter we've been working on, so it'll have some photos and stuff in there. Y'all get that in the next day or so.
Wonderful. I hope we should get to share those with the community. I think it's, I hope that event will continue to grow, and hopefully we'll outgrow our facility with it in the years to come. So. All right. Is there any other business that needs to come before the commission?
I would just encourage, I just want to apologize for my stuttering earlier with my, my comment section, and encourage those that don't normally read the minutes to read them this time, because that will be in there what I said.
Well, thank you for what you said. We appreciate it. And on behalf of the commission, I want to thank the providers. I want to thank those who we serve for standing behind us and for helping us through this year. It has been a challenge, but every commissioner has done an exceptional job of standing up and doing what they felt was right, and every staff member has just gone above and beyond in the last year to really serve our consumers. And I want you all to know how much we appreciate you, and we wish you such a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Our next commission meeting will be January the 20th. That's our regular call meeting. We will have a special call meeting before then to deal with the FMAP funds. That will be our next meeting, and so I need a motion to adjourn us. And
So move.
And before I say the other word, let me say it's Merry Christmas, not just Happy Holidays, and there's a difference. So Merry Christmas to all, and I second the motion to adjourn.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We are standing in adjournment. Thank you.
12 o'clock. You have the agenda. Yes, sir.